In the battle to solve the housing crisis, Toronto and Mississauga rolled out what sounds like a brilliant idea. Let homeowners build small houses in their backyards. It was pitched as a win-win, a gentle way to add density for homeowners and renters. But now, where a lot of people, that big idea is turning into a disaster. The policy was supposed to fix the out-of-control market that we had a few years ago. Instead, it's creating a brand new crisis, a fight for the soul of our neighborhoods, happening one backyard at a time. This isn't the solution we were promised. Let's be real, the idea on paper was a pretty good one. Back in February 2022, Toronto gave Garden Suites the green light, hoping to create new housing in a quiet residential area. The logic was simple. Use the land we already have to add gentle density without dropping a bunch of giant towers everywhere. It was all part of a bigger plan to boost rental supply and make multi-generational housing easier. Mississauga jumped in on board in late 2023, updating its rules and even creating a pre-approved plan to speed up things. It sounded perfect, right? Homeowners get a little rental income or a place for their family. The city gets more housing without a massive rezoning battle. That was the official story. A smart and flexible fix for the housing market that was completely off the rails. But that was then. Here's the problem. The solution might have been arrived just a few years too late. The housing market these policies were built for isn't the ones we are living in right now in 2026. While the original script predicted a massive drop in rent by 2026, the reality is more complicated. Some reports in late 2025 and early 2026 suggest a cooling trend and a drop in asking rents from their peak, with Toronto averages rent from a one-bedroom dipping and Mississauga seeing a year-over-year decline. A report in January 2026 even noted that the average asking rents in Toronto had fallen to their lowest levels since early 2022. So while the five-alarm fire of the old market has cooled, we are now stuck with a policy that's creating a totally different kind of fire. Starting with the price. Let's talk about the financial mess. The term affordable gets thrown around, but the building one of these is anything but. You're building a whole new house in your backyard. Estimates for a basic ready-to-move-in garden suite starts around $200,000 to $250,000 and can easily soar past $400,000. Some builders estimate that all-in cost for a 600 square foot unit, including landscaping and trees, can climb over $330,000. To make that math work, a homeowner has to charge serious rent. We're talking about somewhere between $2,000 to $2,500 a month for a one-bedroom and up to $3,800 for a two-bedroom. These aren't affordable homes anymore for regular people. They're high-end mini-condos. The policy isn't creating affordable housing, it's just creating expensive boxes, often at the expense of what made the neighborhoods great in the first place. And that brings us to the real disaster, the slow motion destruction of our neighborhoods. While the initial numbers of people building these units is low, the city's reaction isn't to hit a pause and ask why. Instead, they are hitting the accelerator. In June 2025, Toronto City Council adopted changes to make the rules even more permissive. The maximum height was nudged up all the way to almost 21 feet, aligning with the laneway suites. The total amount of lot that could be covered by the building was also expanded. The rule that requires slope roof to soften their look was also relaxed. The result, developers and investors are now pushed to build bigger and taller and more intrusive boxes. Picture a quiet street of the average home with green yards and big trees. Now, drop a series of 2-story, 21-foot tall modern cubes looming over the fences. That's the visual clash happening right now. The rules do require a separation distance between the main house and the built suite, but they offer little protection for the neighbors on the other side of the fence. Concerns about privacy, shadows, and the loss of green space are everywhere. A city survey even showed that residents are deeply worried about how these suites will affect their privacy and sunlight, yet the new rules seem to be making those conflicts even worse. This isn't just gentle density. It's a fight that pits neighbor against neighbor and swaps precious green space for rental units, and that doesn't even solve the original affordability problem. Before we get into how this happened, I want to hear from you. Do you want these backyard builds changing your neighborhood? How would you feel if your neighbor builds one in their backyard? Do you think it's a fair trade for more housing, or it has gone too far? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're getting some value out of this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe and like button. So how did this good idea go so sideways? It boils down to a few key failures. First, it was a failure of foresight. The city rolled out a one-size-fits-all policy that just doesn't respect the unique character of Toronto's neighborhoods. A rule that worked on the first huge lot in one area can completely wreck the privacy of a green space of a smaller, tighter lot somewhere else. Second, this has become a developer's dream. The process was supposedly for the average homeowner. But the high-end costs and red tape tell a different story. It means that people who can actually take advantage of this isn't family wanting to help their kids out, but professional investors who smell a profit. And the 2025 rule changes that allow for bigger, more profitable builds, that just adds fuel to the fire. Finally, there's the big disconnect. The city is pushing for more density at any cost, but they're ignoring the reality on the ground. Communities aren't just a bunch of buildings, they are built on a sense of shared space, privacy, and character. When a policy ignores the human stuff, the build, the value backyard, the need for sunlight, the simple desire not to have new buildings staring down into your window, it's guaranteed to cause conflict. So the crisis we are trying to solve, a desperate need for housing, has been swapped for a new one. A battle for the character of our cities. The rental market has also slowed down a lot, but we're stuck with a policy that encourages the slow chipping away of our neighborhoods. We were told garden suites were a win-win. For many, it's feeling like a huge loss, a loss of privacy, a loss of green space, and a loss of the very character that made us want to live in these communities in the first place. It's time for a smarter approach, one that recognizes that you can't build a livable city by sacrificing livability. We need to ask ourselves not just how many units can we cram in, but what kind of city do we actually want to live in before we lose what makes our community special. One backyard at a time. This is just not Toronto and Mississauga. Other GTA cities are also following and joining in. If you are thinking of buying or selling real estate, please give me a call. My information is in below. Until next time, see you soon.